Hey, what's up gang? Kawaii50 here with another fake Grand Order video, and it is time to talk about our 5-star Valentine's Day servant, the ruler that many Hollow Atraxia fans have been looking forward to. That's right, it is time for the only Caren I would reasonably want to speak to in real life, or any life for that matter, Caren C. Hortensia. You can also call her Amor, but we're going with Caren because I already did the bit. So we're going to be looking over Caren's best allies, craft essences, and command codes, so you can make her a pretty dang powerful quick looper on your team. That's right, quick is kinda sorta back with Caren. It's strange. We'll get into it. Hopefully this video helps you out, and if it does, be sure to go ahead, like, and subscribe. Alright, Caren's deck comes stacked with 2 quick, 2 arts, and 1 buster card with an AoE quick noble phantasm that we are going to use for looping purposes. Her stats are pretty solid, sitting around that 13 and 11k respectively. Considering she's a ruler though, that does give us some bonuses as well as some setbacks. Caren's nice bonus is she's going to be taking not a lot of damage in the grand scheme of things. That ruler class advantage is very, very helpful. I've seen it happen multiple times by throwing Qin Shi Huang in my back line. It just works. Consequently, Caren is also going to be dealing neutral damage to the vast majority of characters you throw her up against as well. So that is really something you're going to have to look out for as well when building her. Her NP per hit is pretty dang solid. We can actually push her NP gain super far. Like, it is going to be absurd once I tell you about some Caren tech in the allies section. Her star absorption is also average across the board. Caren's first skill is Shroud of Valentinus, rank A. This gives her 3 instances of invincibility, and this lasts for 3 turns. She also absorbs 10% of NP gauge from all allies except herself each turn. So that's going to be 10% from you and 10% for you. So that's basically a 20% NP charge every single turn. Absolutely fantastic for looping. She also grants her allies a little bit extra invincibility and gives herself NP gain on top of that as icing on the cake, a 10 to 20% boost. The only thing that is affected by leveling up this skill is the NP gain, and that just goes from 10 to 20%. So we can actually safely go ahead and max this skill last. Caren's second skill is Golden Arrow, rank A, and no, not that one. This grants target focus on herself and increases her NP gauge by 20 to 30%. As an extra additional screw you to all of her opponents, she decreases all their noble phantasm gauge and reduces their attack and defense by an additional 20%. This skill is actually what we are going to max first, so we can go ahead and get ourselves a solid 30% NP gain. Considering Caren's ruler class, this is not a big deal. Even if things hit her, they really aren't going to be dealing that much damage. And Caren's final skill is an exceptionally overpowered Mana Burst. Mana Burst Love grants her 20% quick arts and buster card effectiveness. It increases her NP gauge by another 10 to 20%, and again decreases the enemy's noble phantasm gauge by 1 step as well. We're going to go ahead and max this second to take advantage of that increased noble phantasm charge and that increased boost to all of her cards. With this combined with her second skill, you are looking at a 50% charge, which we love to see on basically all of our loopers. For Caren's append skills, Load Magical Energy is essentially a must, granting her that sweet 10 to 20% boost. Now, I don't always talk about passives on these videos because a lot of the time they are fairly negligible, but this is not the case with one of Caren's class skills, which we are going to exploit into the ground, again, in the ally section. Masochistic Spiritualist Disposition, rank EX, decreases her own debuff resist by 20% and increases her own attack by 20% when she is debuffed. Now, this particular debuff works as a buff, so it's not really like this skill is activating itself, but a permanent 20% attack boost on any servant, that's kind of the equivalent of chucking another craft essence on them, so we are going to exploit that. We are going to exploit the hell out of this. Now, let's talk about the Noble Phantasm.
私の思いを具現化します。あまねく無償の無限の愛を。聖なるかな、聖なるかな。グレイテストヒッツ、カーリングアガペ。
Caren's Noble Phantasm is the greatest hits calling Agape, and I'm going to be showing you the buffed version of this because Caren will be receiving this buff not the Valentine's Day this video is released, but next Valentine's Day, which is honestly a fairly small buff window all things considered when it comes to a servant. Initially, this deals 600 to 1000% damage to all enemies. It decreases the quick resist of all enemies by 20% for 3 turns, so this can actually help Caren when it comes to fighting bosses because her quick cards are just going to deal more and more damage the longer the fight goes on. And this also inflicts Nullify buff on all enemies. It will block 1 buff and it lasts for 3 turns. Most importantly, what we want to see on all of our loopers is that this increases Caren's Noble Phantasm strength, and this activates before the damage is dealt, and this is entirely affected by overcharge. So you're going to see a solid 10 to 30% boost to her Noble Phantasm strength. When this eventually does get the buff next year, you are going to see the damage increase by 200% for each level across the board, and this is also going to deal an extra 150% damage to chaotic alignment enemies. Chaotic neutral, chaotic evil, chaotic good, chaotic whatever. Caren will pound that chaos into the dust. This is a pretty dang great AoE Noble Phantasm. So here's where this video is going to differ from how I normally do these videos. Normally I'll have like a slew of characters I'll talk about when it comes to potential allies. Here I want to talk about the MLG Pro Caren C Hortensia team. And this is my example of the MLG Pro team. You can mainly consider for that support slot, we are going to go ahead and put in another Skahawk Scotty. Now there's a couple of different ways to run this team. So when it comes to these in general waves, ideally, if you're running this in the absolute max possible way, you are running 2 Skahawk Scotties that have maxed up pen skills, so Caren can go ahead and leech their different Noble Phantasms they start the fight with. You can also, of course, go ahead and maybe chuck another CE on there so you can avoid the pen skill requirement. It is honestly entirely fine. So if you use these 2 Skahawk Scotties, immediately pop Caren's Shroud of Valentine and go ahead and use the Skahawk Scotty's charge along with Caren's own charges, you should easily be able to loop 3 waves with Caren C Hortensia. It is entirely possible. This just unfortunately gives up a couple of your slots when it comes to Skahawk Scotty, so it might not necessarily be ideal for multiple waves. One thing we are also going to want to consider is in some looping scenarios, we might need to use a Castoria in the background. In this case, you're just going to go ahead, use the Skahawk Scotty buffs, use 1 Skahawk Scotty's charge, and then swap in that Castoria to get the additional refund. You can also chuck a waiver back there too. That works as well. The one thing that is very, very important on this team, however, is the Angra menu in the background. I would highly recommend every single player that wants to use Caren throw an Angra menu in the back line. And here's why. Angra Menu has a very powerful passive ability that Caren is able to ruthlessly exploit. His Avenger rank A ability increases his Noble Phantasm generation rate, but also has the demerit of reducing the party's debuff resistance by 10%. And that is going to be the entire party. It even affects the party if he is in your sub team. Since Caren needs a debuff to get 20% additional attack. This basically reads as if Angramanu is in your backline, Caren gets 20% additional attack for the entire fight. That can help you with looping, that can help you with boss fights. Please, if you are running Caren C. Hortensia, bring along an Angramanu in your backline. It all around just makes her better. I hope that this was able to help you out, because all of these things are very important when it comes to maximizing your Caren's effectiveness, and this is part of the reason Caren is strongly considered a very expensive servant to run. Not expensive in terms of what she personally needs, but expensive in the terms of the other servants you need to fully maximize her effectiveness. So what craft essences can we equip on Caren? Well, K-Scope is always a nice default option when it comes to farming. Caren can actually also run the Black Grail if you've ended up investing enough into all of your supports and brought along that Angramanu. Black Grail looping with Caren is actually possible. If you are looking for a freebie option that is not super duper expensive like the rest of these, I can recommend Traces of Christmases Past from Christmas. This grants quick card effectiveness, NP gain, and a starting NP gauge of 30 to 50%, something that I'm sure Caren graciously appreciates. And now let's talk about command codes. Of course, Da Vinci Chan is a super prime option, granting some solid noble phantasm damage Caren can use with one of her cards in order to squeeze a little bit of extra damage out while looping. Beyond that, I would actually recommend pumping up Caren's kit with some healing command codes. Because she's a ruler, she's going to be taking far less damage from the vast majority of enemies that she fights. Having a way to go ahead and pump up a little bit of extra HP is actually going to go ahead and help her just live overall longer. Bride of the White Rose can be very effective at this, recovering the entire party's HP. Imaginary Figures Light Pink Command Seal, or Disillusioned Blossoms Command Seal, whatever you want to call it. This is pretty good at removing attack buffs while also restoring a small amount of HP. And of course, Maiden of Orleans, once every 3 turns, will refund you a full 1000 HP. This command code goes especially far on a ruler. Caren is no exception. Overall, gang, Caren C. Hortensia is a very solid ruler that any player would be lucky to get in their arsenal. If you are a newer player that currently lacks a ruler, Caren is absolutely worth rolling for. She will do the job of a ruler, and she will do it very, very well. Also, if you happen to have the MLG Pro Caren C. Hortensia team, you can go ahead and run that, and you will actually get yourself a pretty amazing farmer out of the whole deal. This will, of course, require you to be a fairly higher level with a fairly high team costs in order to accomplish this, but you can definitely pull some sick 3-turn farming out of Caren C. Hortensia. And if you're at a point where you're maybe just tired of routinely seeing the animations for your Space Ishtar, for your Musashi, whoever, you can go ahead and safely run Caren and consider that Quick might be back, at least for a little while. Of course, I want to know what you all think, so let me know your thoughts on Caren C. Hortensia down in the comments section below. Let me know if there are any other allies, craft essences, or command codes that you would consider running with her, and let me know if your rolls were lucky for her. I actually just chucked a multi for some solid craft essences from the recent Valentine's event. Rainbow Sparks, there she was. So I guess I'm using her. I guess that's just the way it's gonna go. If you want to talk more FGO, of course, my Discord server is always open, link in the description below. And big thanks to patrons on Patreon, subscribers and followers on Twitch, and of course, all of you here on YouTube for giving me the motivation to continue making these videos. I really, really appreciate it. But anyways, gang, that's it for me, Kawaii50. I hope you all have a phenomenal day, and we'll see you all in the next video.